Yeah, we'll just go ahead and get started. We've got Eric just recapping from last week. Let me pull up the slide. Do you want to go ahead and recap, Eric?
Find my mute button. Yeah, let's do it.
Good morning.
So yes, one of my favorite quotes of all time, and from one of my favorite people of all time, Anthony Robbins, right? It is in the moments of your decision that your destiny is shaped. So last week we discussed, how when you make a decision, it comes from a place of passion and energy. Usually you don't make large decisions when it's kind of half-hearted and your energy is not really into it. Sometimes there's some buildup over months, years when you make huge decisions. So we talked a little bit about all that goes into it. And if you remember, we said, hey, let's bring some ideas or something that you've done in the past. Maybe write down one decision, a positive decision in your past that you'd like to, reflect back on and share if you want to. I'd love it if you shared. It doesn't have to be about real estate, or it could be, it could be a personal thing, but kind of what that decision was, how long it took to make that decision, why it was positive, how it changed your life forever. And then second, write down a big decision that you've been thinking about making, or maybe something that you'd like to change that you haven't done yet. So do we have any volunteers on what we discussed last week? And first of all, who's got a past decision that changed their life in a positive way they'd like to share? So remember, this could be about anything, right? And if you didn't write something down, but you can think of something in your mind that you'd like to share, I think that would be awesome. But yeah, it's
I'll go.
Yeah, go ahead.
So the decision to join EXP, that took about 33 minutes. That Brent Grove video that Eric sent me, that was a pivotal moment for decision making that changed literally everything in my life and gave me a backup plan and just move forward. That one of the positives that came from that is I knew I could push myself before, but to push myself and learn and grow as much as I've had to do since then is insane.
So Nate, I'm curious, you made that decision over a 33-minute video, but was there something in your past career that kind of spurred you to wanting to make a change?
Well, if you can picture yourself in a dark, damp, moldy, tight spot under a house, knowing there's only one exit and you're halfway across underneath, and there's only about 18 inches of space to move around till you're back, and do that 5 times a day. Makes those decisions. Why am I under here?
So you would say your decision to do something different had building up for years, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I thought about doing real estate for a long time, but there's nothing that spurred me and pushed me that hard to make that decision until I watched that video and just kind of was already there, but that was the decision maker. And then, wanting to make a better life for myself and my family, that's
something
big part of it.
Yeah, it's interesting, Nathan. I don't know if I've shared this story with everyone else here, but I remember like 15 years ago, you telling me, I'd love to get into real estate. Is there any way we can work together? And I told Nathan, absolutely, move to Utah and I want to help you. That was before EXP, obviously. So, yeah, I'm proud of you for making that decision. And just so everyone knows, Nathan's killing it right now. I mean, he's having closings every single month in a tough market, and he's only had his license. He's been licensed under a couple years, right? So whatever you're doing, it's working. I get updates all the time from Nathan of what he's doing at open houses, what he's doing, in the public, to get his name out there. And it's delayed gratification sometimes when you are moving slow, but you're working, you're just seeing slow results. Nathan's seeing those results right now, and it's awesome. So
Thank
Congrats, Nathan. You deserve it.
yeah, you deserve it. You work so hard. I see how hard you're working all the time, and it's impressive.
Thank you. That's awesome. Yeah, we just finished a 3-day event over the weekend. That was fun.
Good. So anyone else want to share a big decision that was positive?
So I will share. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay, so I actually feel like I have a lot of big decisions that I could talk about, but I refreshed my memory this week and listened to the 5-second rule book again. And I'm just finding that the big decisions are made from an accumulation of everyday simple decisions. And that's kind of what I've been focusing on this week is just 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, get up and go, or, get up and change the laundry, or, whatever it may be, and just quickly act. And I think that creates, I guess, momentum and decision making, so that when it does come time to make a big decision, you can not necessarily make it quicker, but you have more confidence in being able to choose. So I'm not going to share an exact story because I can't think of one right now, but there's a lot of just the everyday choices that we make.
Yeah. Yep. I love it. Thank you.
Shayna, I was thinking along the same lines as like, if we really sat and pondered and thought back, there's so many pivotal decisions we've made in our life. It's like, how did I end up here? Oh, well, I did this, or I did this, or somebody else did this. Nathan mentioned EXP, that happened because of decisions Eric made, right? And so that affected Nathan's future. So I was thinking about this, and Lynn and I were talking recently just about our grandkids and our kids and where we're at in our life. And one of the decisions we made that I'm being blessed for now is we made the decision to start our family young. Rather, we made the decision not to prevent starting a family. Like Lynn went off birth control as fast as she went on it, basically, when we got together, as we made these decisions. And she was talking about people that she knows or knows of that seem to be passing away around the age of 80. Nowadays, that seems kind of young as I'm getting older, but also with all the advances in longevity and when people take care of themselves. But what we were talking about is that's 25 years from now for us. We're 55 years old. So the connection going back to deciding to have kids early, that means my oldest granddaughter, when I turn 80, is going to be Ashley's age, which means Skylin could have 2 or 3 kids of her own by the time I'm 80. That's 25 years from now. That's a whole nother segment of our life, right? That's a big chunk of time that there's so many great things that are going to happen, and, good, bad, whatever. But that decision to say, I would rather have kids young now than maybe to avoid the risk of not being able to have them later, for instance. So there's a lot of sacrifice. And Eric, you talked about making decisions with passion and energy. It's like, I wanted kids and a family more than I wanted things, and more than I wanted even like experiences with my friends and all the things that they were doing in their early 20s when I was having babies. And so that's a big, huge lifelong decision, but there's so much connected to that for me. And Other things that come to mind are just like people that are in my life. I can track it back all the way to decisions, like counting you guys, right? Decisions that were made at some point. It's like, wow, I wouldn't have some of the relationships I have in my life now if that one thing hadn't happened. And it's really awesome to reflect on because, like Shayna said, the little decisions we make every day, we don't even know the compounding effects of those decisions fully yet. 5, 10, 15 years down the road, something that Shayna said 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 on could blossom into something very extraordinary. So every decision is important. Every decision can change us from the path that we're on and put us on a new one. And so it just makes life exciting. The end.
Thanks, Jeff. I love that. I mean, love that you brought something up that was personal too. That's fantastic. And you know, everyone has a different path with when they start a family and, you know, their choices. But I mean, you guys have made some great choices based on, I would say, having an unusual gift for thinking about long-term, you know, life goals at a very young and, you know, fresh time in your life, which is really cool. So always good to make those decisions quicker than later, right? No matter what stage you are in life.
Yeah. You know, I'm also pondering on this because I'm speaking at the Utah Valley Real Estate Investors Association on Thursday night, basically on the lessons learned in building a real estate portfolio and the benefits that we are experiencing now because of then. Because there's people on their journey that are just beginning, or they think they're too late. So there's a lot of, when you're looking back, you can think of the decisions that you made that were good or bad, right? But what about the decisions you didn't make?
Yeah.
That you should have. You know, we hear that in real estate, at least I do in the investor spaces. I wish I would have started earlier. I wish I would have bought more. I wish I never would have sold. I wish I would have this. And so I have lessons that I can share with these people on the things I didn't do that I should have done, as well as the mistakes and the wins and those kind of things. So it's all kind of like rolls together. And so it's really awesome to ponder that. And Eric, and some of you have heard me talk about this before. One thing that has helped me in my life is eliminating that regret by tricking my mind into thinking that this is my do-over. Like I completely fucked up my life. Looking back over the years at 80 years old and saying, man, I screwed up, right? And at that time, that's when people say, I wish I would have done things differently. I wish I could have a second chance. I would do it different this time. And in hearing that at a young age from other people that were, you know, elder to me, it's like, the way my brain works, I was like, holy shit, what if this is my do-over? What if I got it? What if I was able to come back and do things right? You make decisions differently and with a more long-term vision in play if you're thinking, this is my second bite at the apple.
Did you say, Jeff, that was at the RIA that you're doing that?
Yeah, down in Utah Valley.
So do you have to be a member to sit in on that?
I think they have a non-member admission and a member admission, but I also know that they broadcast, at least the last one Lynn and I did there, they broadcast it on Zoom as well. So did I share that link somewhere?
I don't think so.
I think I posted it somewhere. Oh, I'll put it in the Team Limitless Facebook group. There's another speaker before me, talking on, I think on his flipping business, I think. And then I go after that. But yeah, it is a membership club, but they let people come that are non-members. They have an admission fee. And then of course their hope is that they enjoyed the experience. And it's so ridiculously low, right? It's like $120 for the year.
Yeah.
A very nominal investment for people that should be getting in that space and networking and rubbing shoulders with people. So I'm shocked that everybody that doesn't go to one of those doesn't join, but then also part of my story is I went to one when I was young and I didn't have a good experience. And I think it was because of whoever I sat next to, their energy, the speaker wasn't engaging or whatever. I got nothing out of it. And I'm like, this was a kind of a waste of time. And I never went back. So thinking
Yeah.
of, I wish I would have, that's one of my things.
I have a few investors in mind that I would love to hear you discuss your story. So yeah, if there's more information on how somebody could log in, including myself on Zoom and watch that, or even go in person, love to get more info on that. So that's really cool.
Yeah, it's in Pleasant Grove, but I'll find the email that has the link in it, and it's their registration stuff. So I'll find it and share it.
Awesome.
A lot of times, if it's your first time, they'll let you in for free. And then after that, so you kind of get a trial run.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I can even ask Jordy. So our friend Jordy Clark is the president this year for the UV RIA.
Is there anyone else who would like to share on a decision they've made in the past that's positive before I can share mine as well and give you the mic drop of why I picked this saying in the first place. So anyone else jump in now or we'll move on. All right. Well, I was thinking about a big decision that I'm really happy about. And first of all, the reason I wanted to focus on positive decisions is because a lot of times our minds, that inner voice in our head, we have to train it to stay positive, right? Because it's a lot easier to think about decisions that you regret sometimes than it is decisions that you made right. Because, man, I wish I would have done this better. I wish I would have decided to do this sooner, or why did I do that? And we don't focus on some of the great things that have happened because of great decisions we've made in the past and learn from them. So that was, I just wanted to focus on the positive for this one so we can duplicate and repeat those positive decisions. So my big decision that I made is I really was interested in learning about real estate, investing, doing flipping while I was in college at the University of Utah. And I decided I was going to go to a 5-day course in Houston, Texas, and learn all about real estate investing. And I flew down there and attended in person a 5-day course because that's how they used to do it, right? You'd go to them and learn everything and get booklets, and then they'd sell you on further education, etc. I got back home to Utah and immediately started going to work, meeting, FSBOs, default properties, and working on basically doing lease options and, investment property and flips. I had some success and had some properties that I purchased, I flipped, and even became rental properties right at the beginning of my real estate career. Never once did it occur to me to become a real estate agent until I sat with this really nice couple that I knew I was going to get this house, and it was such a good one. And I was going over with the paperwork to sign it. I was going to take over this property and help them get out of their situation. I was excited to do it. And what I'll never forget, the owner, she said to me, "Eric, we really like you and we feel really good about what you're doing, but we're a little bit more conservative. So we've just decided we're just going to go ahead and list it with a realtor." And I couldn't believe it. I was like, why would you do that? Why would you want to list it with a realtor? I just gave you a much better solution that's going to earn you more money and help you out. And I realized at that point that not everyone is perfect for every, offer or situation, even if it's better for them financially. And I decided I need to get my real estate license so I can service people on a broader, spectrum. So that I'd made a decision basically that night. I was going to get my real estate license on top of what I was doing. So here's the reason I love this quote. And if any of you have listened to Tony, you might already know what I'm going to say here, but that decision for me to get a real estate license changed my life. And it was a really great decision for me and my family. And it took years of buildup, right? I was trying to get through college. I was trying to figure out how to earn some income. I went down the real estate path. I found a passion, and it led up over a couple years to me getting a real estate license and deciding to do that. Nathan, you talked about being under houses and knowing you needed to make a change. You know, you need to change something, but you just didn't know what to do or how to do it. You just knew you had to. So when you saw the opportunity to work with us in EXP, you made that decision, but it was really a buildup over years of experiences that had you make that decision. So all of these decisions that we've talked about today have led from sometimes years of things building up and decisions, different reasons that make that decision happen. But what Tony says is when you make a decision, you actually make it in an instant. It's actually like a finger snap. You decide to do that right then and there. And it comes from passion. It comes from, previous experiences, but it's a buildup of everything that makes you make that decision in that moment. What Tony says and what he teaches is if you want to make a decision, you don't need years and years of pain and build up sometimes to make a big decision. You can actually make an important decision instantly if you know you need to make it. So I love that analogy. Like, say you decide, give me an example. It can be anything. Like I'm going to decide to, quit a bad habit, or I'm going to decide to get in better shape, or I'm going to decide to become, a powerful listing agent, or I'm going to decide to run with Bundle Select, or whatever your decision is, you can actually make that decision in 1 second and have it stick if you really true to decide to make it. And the definition of decide, I believe this is right. I didn't look this up, but it's to cut off, right? It's to cut off other options when you decide to do something. It's a permanent decision that I'm going to stop doing this and I'm going to do this instead. And there's no middle ground or leeway behind it. So the big takeaway from this, and what I always think about when I hear this quote, is decisions can be made in a second if you have passion and desire and a commitment behind it. You don't need years of pain. So in the future, when you need to make a decision and you need to make it, just decide to do it and be committed to it, and it can change your life quicker than waiting for that decision to fester and finally make it forced to happen, right? So it's a great quote. And if you guys have an opportunity to listen to Tony teach it, he does a great job on it, but it's one of my favorite quotes. And that's why. It's because decisions can be an instant decision that can change your life. They don't need years of buildup. So thanks for letting me share, guys.
Awesome, Eric. I love your insights on this. And you know what? This beginning and end of these masterminds are my favorite. It's like eventually it might be all we do, but I just love the you guys as a resource and to share your insights on these topics, and you're picking what you want to share. And we've got Kaylee with us today that's going to be closing us out on our ending thoughts. So since we took a minute on that, we could keep going and talk the whole time on this topic, but Eric, that was amazing. And I appreciate your shares, but let's talk a little bit. I've got a couple things I want to share with you on market conditions. And again, this is in preparation for me speaking at the RIA, because I've been at this 30 years, right? I've got the benefit of hindsight, and where people really get hung up on the market is they're only looking at the market of today, and they're making their decisions based on that, based on their experience. Again, maybe even regret, right? Eric, based on decisions, shoulda, woulda, coulda. I didn't make a decision then, so they're frozen to make it now because they're thinking they missed the opportunity to make that decision. So check out a couple of slides that I put in here that I'm going to share on Thursday night. So the question to pose is, looking back on this history of home prices in the Salt Lake area, and this graph is the same, guys, whether you pull up the country, you pull up Utah County, you pull up Nebraska, it's just a different price point. But this is how the market has moved over these last decades, right? So I want you to look at this graph and find a point on that graph that you're super glad you did not buy real estate. There isn't one, right? Because you're looking back on what real estate has done. We all know here that real estate is the only hedge against inflation that we have. The value of the dollar is diminishing, but when you can lock in today's value for the next 3 decades, that's pretty amazing. That's a great talking point to have with those people that have been renting in the Salt Lake market. We have averaged over 11% rental price increase over the last decade annually on rent prices in Salt Lake County. Where in the past do they wish they had not locked in their housing expense? Even if it's on this graph somewhere, if your housing expense is here and you have the opportunity to lock it in a little bit higher than where you're at, but you know that it's locked in for 30 years if you do a 30-year fixed mortgage, wouldn't that be worth the stretch to say, oh man, I'm only paying $2,400 a month right now. It's really hard for me to lock in $2,800 or $3,000, right? But that's a talking point. That's something I want to leave you with. Anybody have any comments on that? And then I'm going to show you one other slide and we can, either further discuss on this or move forward.
I just remember from Alan Blood's, class the other day, it's impossible to predict and nail the bottom of the real estate market, that people are waiting. And this is just a great backup that it doesn't really matter if you hit the top or the bottom of a certain time frame, it doesn't matter in the long run at all. You can't time it, and don't even try, just get in.
Yeah, it really doesn't. It really doesn't. I've mentioned to you guys a lot about my first property, and looking back, what if I would have paid 10, 15, 20% more than it was worth at the time? I still own it today. So the relevancy kind of of that being a bad decision at the time dissipates over time, because all of a sudden it becomes a brilliant decision. I was, oh my gosh, how were you so smart, right? And so another thing to consider along these lines, and again, this is just something, ammunition I want you to have as you're having conversations with people that are fearful. I don't think they really understand the future benefits. They're fearful because they feel like they've lost opportunity. And if I make it now, I'm not smart. I should have done it before. If I buy at the height, but look, all through that time, except for 2008 to 2016, it was always higher than yesterday. The price of today is it's always higher than it was before. So one other thing to go along with that is this chart. And I can post these in the Team Limitless Facebook group if you want to steal them or whatever. But this is showing 10-year histories, judging off $100,000 value. If you held a property for 10 years, what was it worth 10 years later? There's only that one time that I just mentioned in between 2006 and 2016 that it was a negative. One time. This goes clear back to 1942. Is that a pretty good play that real estate long-term is a good hold, right? It's a good thing to get into. The one thing this doesn't take into consideration is this is showing you the percentage of increase of the whole value of the property. What if you bought it with 5% down? What if you bought it with 20% down? Your ROI on your investment into that property gets the full benefit, as we all understand this, but this is, again, a talking point with our clients. We get the benefit of the full value of appreciation or devaluation of the dollar, right? So tell the story, or I tell my story. It's like, when I was young, I was like, if I want $1 million for retirement, I figured out, luckily at a young age, I just need to buy $1 million worth of property today. And I will have $1 million at minimum for retirement. It's done by what I do today. And the value of that $1 million is going to be inflation adjusted because of it's in real estate, right? So it might be 10 million, right? 30 years later, whatever that might be. So anyway, I get excited about this because I've lived it, and it's fun for me to talk to other people and try and get them to have a bigger, broader vision about their future. And so they don't have that pain of regret, wishing they would have, because today is tomorrow's past, where they're going to be saying the same thing. Holy shit, back in 2024, if I show this chart to somebody 5-10 years from now and ask how many people are, wish or glad you didn't buy in 2024, it's going to be the same reaction you guys just had.
I like that information because it presents it in a way, like you were saying, is that as long as you buy real estate at any time, you haven't missed out.
Mhm.
And then what I was thinking about is maybe how to present this. If it were me, the thing that came to my mind first is like, I would just ask the person I was talking to, like, okay, let's say you buy one right now and your mortgage is $1,500, we'll say. What's your mortgage going to be in 5 years? And then in 10 years, 15, if they keep the mortgage the whole time without refinancing. And then you provide them the information as far as rents going up, and then just give them a simple number. Let's say rents go up $100 a year. And then they start writing that out, and you give them the same timelines, like, okay, if rent in 5 years is going to be how much more? And then at 10 years, and then you compare that to the mortgage, and then they can visualize the gap just increasing and increasing. So I think a lot of times when I tell people stuff, at least even with me, when people are telling me stuff, unless I like write it down, I don't get it, or I'll try to read, or I'll come back to it later. But that's kind of a powerful visualization in that people, there's always FOMO. There just isn't in real estate. You just got to buy one.
Right. Another great example that I have is I bought my house, find 2006 on that chart. I bought my house that I'm in 2006. And as the prices were going down and the house was underwater, essentially, here's the funny thing about that is I paid $890 for my house and I put 10% down in 2006. A year later, I wanted to refinance it because I wanted that 10% back. I wanted to go buy some more real estate. So I'm doing the loan, getting the refinance ready. Josh calls me and he says, hey, are you sure you just wanted your 10% back? Do you want to pull out any other money? And I'm like, what are you talking about? He says, well, it just appraised for 1.28. And I'm like, holy shit. Yeah, give me an extra 100. So I pulled out $100,000. But anyway, my point is 2006 to 2008, that's what was happening, right? And then there's that big long curve in there that we probably, we won't experience that type of a dip in our lifetime again because of the circumstances that created that. Even Alan Blood pointed out, look at the top of that graph. He pointed out that dip. The people that might be underwater right now, it's like, what was it? Not even a 6-month period of time of purchasing that are underwater. Look at that compared to the last downturn. So anyway, those are great stories because there was some like, oh no, what have I done? Prices are plummeting. And those smart people are saying, hey, prices are plummeting, buy, buy some, right? Okay, that's awesome. Anybody else got any comments? James, that was awesome input. That I actually made a couple of notes there that I can. I want people to have takeaways. I want people to remember, like you said, I want them to remember these things. So visuals kind of help, but posing the question in the right way by comparing it to their annual increases in rent and stuff like that, that was really, really good. And that's the decision we need to help our clients make, but also us as investors, right? What are we doing? For your retirement? What are you working towards these things? Take people on that journey too.
I would definitely like both of these, so I'll go in the Facebook and download them.
Okay, yeah, I'll get those up soon as we're done. Or actually, all honestly, Ashley.
Yeah, I'll put it in.
Okay, guys, we're at 10:37 already. So those great conversation. I'm not upset that went a little bit over our allotted time for that conversation at all. That was all good stuff. But on this area, anybody have anything they want to pivot to and speak about as far as wins, losses, challenges, or anything else on the market? Whoop. Okay, let's just move forward. Alan's training was awesome last week. That recording is,
It's up.
it's up.
Mhm.
That recording's up. Lot of data in there. Alan's a super smart guy. I can see why you guys have stuck with him so long, James and Shayna. Super nice person as an individual as well. Would do a great job serving your clients. If you want to try out somebody new or give a second opinion, I would recommend him for sure. And then we've got this Wednesday. Would be a great shareable with your SOI guys and the other agents that you work with. What agency is she with? She's a realtor with
Utah Real Estate.
Utah Real Estate. Ashley met her when we were interviewing for one of our moms panel discussions that we did, and then started following her. All her business comes from her social media.
Well, and I think what stood out about her is that she wasn't doing really anything on social media. And then I saw over time
Mm.
that she was changing and growing. And I mean, I can't remember, what did we, 15,000 followers now or something?
Yeah, she's about 15,000 followers. She does, between 30 and 40 deals in the last month. When I don't remember the number, but I looked it up on Utah Real Estate. But my interview with her, which the little portion of that's posted on the registration page. Well, I don't think this part of it was, but she had mentioned that it all comes from her social media. She just built this following and people reach out to her because of the content she's putting out. And so scaling your business, building your business, maybe she could learn from somebody that is good at SOI, right? And the relationship, so that all of our business is not coming from social media. Maybe some of us that are more SOI heavy could learn from this, so that we add in some diversity to our business. So I think, yeah, this will be a great class, a great share, because it applies to any business, anybody, it's social media in general. She will be obviously coming from the real estate theme, but should be a great class. That's 2 days from now.
One thing that I like about this is that I'd say most people have Instagram, and I've actually gone on there and looked at a couple of her most recent posts. And I've actually gone through every single comment. The vast majority of those people are tied to the real estate. There's like title people or officers or agents. I'll have to keep looking into it. But my point is, like, we have a good understanding of social media in general, so we can really dive in and kind of break it apart and then ask very specific questions if we're looking to implement something or change something on ours or compare it to hers. Because I've also noticed recently, like in the text portion, she started to put her contact information on some of her more recent posts. Why? I don't know. Maybe she gets better conversion or something. But the point of this spiel is, if you really want to go down that thing or improve it, analyze what she's doing and compare that to yours and ask, oh, why did you do this? Why did you do this? Just pick yours apart, pick hers apart, and then you can probably get some powerful takeaways, and in addition to what she's going to present. The end.
Love it.
Haley, were you going to say something?
I was going to ask if you could tell me what her social media handle is, but I think I found her. She goes by Alex.
Yeah, what was it? It's
I don't remember what her
something.
handle-
Your real estate girl. I found it.
Yes, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's neat to see because it's not like she's doing anything super fancy, you guys.
Mm-mm.
So, okay, I'll have to dive into that. That's awesome.
I'm sure there's some lessons in there though, because one thing she is consistent.
Well, and it
Awesome.
looks like she's just being herself, it doesn't look like what I mean by too fancy is it doesn't look like she's trying to do anything too kitschy or too like complicated.
Right.
Yeah, and if you just do a quick scanning, this is another thing I noticed. She's almost in every single one of her posts.
Yeah.
There might be like a handful where you don't recognize her like right off the bat. So just some things I've noticed.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
But
she'll
good
be
little
here in
case
the
study.
office in person, so come have lunch with her and pick her brain if you want. Oh, look who's the week after that. It's Kaylee. What? I'm excited for that one too.
Sydney took that picture of me, by the way.
Did she really?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Going to be talking about house hacking 101. You've been doing some other presentations and training I hear are going really well too.
Yeah, it's just really fun. So, yeah, like this Thursday, I'm just doing a virtual 5 ways to invest in real estate. It's just to help people know what their options are.
Well, you're getting yourself out there. That's great. One thing Kaylee's doing that I really like because I
Hello.
love the niche is she's talking to the parents that have kids. I think it was between like 18 and 24, somewhere in that price range, Kaylee.
Yeah.
That are at that point where they don't feel like they can really get out of the house.
Yeah.
You know, so she's capturing 2 generations there by sharing her knowledge and experience. And I think it's brilliant.
Thanks.
Lynn, your camera's on. That usually means you're going to say something. No?
No,
Okay.
I've been driving. I was picking up Sydney. Her car had an issue. So she just wanted to wave and say hello, but she's going to get on. She's going to jump on. But yeah. So anyway, we just wanted to say hi.
You
guys
were
are-
with Sydney there for a sec?
Yeah, I went and grabbed her. She had a problem with her car. And so we were driving. That's why I had the camera off. But
Cool.
anyway, no, great stuff, you guys. Today's meeting has been on fire. I've loved the collaboration, everything you're talking about. There's so many exciting things. I was trying to figure out where I was going. Otherwise, I would have participated more. But anyway, yeah, great stuff. Pretty exciting.
Okay, I'll just mention I've met Travis here. We invited him to speak to us after it. He's a part of a coaching program through the Sandler Real Training. The title needs a little definition, I guess. The buyer-seller dance. It's just about negotiation and conversation on the seller's vantage point, the buyer's vantage point, and we can kind of look at that negotiation as somewhat of a dance, right? It's like there's, are we leading? Are we following? Blah blah blah. So I've heard some good feedback about this presentation from those that have seen it. So that'll be the week after Kaylee, and then some of us are going to Cabo.
Got a blank slide.
Got a blank slide. Okay, we'll just let's just get past it then. It's 10:45. Let's get past it.
All right, Kaylee's up.
Okay, so I'm reading The Go-Giver. If you haven't read it recently, it's a super easy read. Just open it up. It makes you it adds to the fire, right? That we're feeling. And it just talks about how giving is the way to receiving. I went to a breathwork session with Louie last year and talk about a decision, right? Like I made the decision to go to that breathwork session. Like I made it and I made it there, and that moment I can track the moment where I believed in showing up with authenticity to that breathwork session where I believed it. Like I had heard it, but I believed it. Right then. And I made a decision to show up as myself. And that has really, really been a huge turning point in my life. So thank you, Jeff, for inviting me.
Absolutely.
And so this quote says, as long as you're trying to be someone else or putting on some act or behavior someone else taught you, you have no possibility of truly reaching people. The most valuable thing you have to give people is yourself. No matter what you think you're selling, what you're really offering is you. And you guys know that. You know that. But this quote was just like, cut the BS. Like, stop it. Stop putting on some act. Right? We can all show up in real estate how we want with our niches and be successful. But the only way, like in Louie's words, it was about accomplishment. But I think accomplishment, success, and achieving are all kind of synonymous, but you can't accomplish the most if you're not yourself. And, I dropped my phone in the water. So I lost like a lot of good stuff that I had written down that day.
Oh, no.
But he shared a quote where it was just so powerful, and I'll probably reach out to him to get it again. But it was just about you really cannot, like it is not actually possible for you to accomplish your most potential of accomplishment without being authentic. And I have a problem with that. I'm very like feelings and like feminine qualities, right? Like I'm a feeler. I have a hard time setting goals. I have a hard time with numbers of like, just do it, you know, like that's not me. And so accomplishing even those three words, accomplishment, achievement, and success, I just would like make me cringe. Like, I just want to be like, don't. But he gave me permission to accomplish a lot by being myself. And so I just challenge you guys to do a little check to be like, am I bringing myself to my business? And if I don't really see myself, then maybe bring more of myself and I'll have more achievement.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, I love that. I love that. Anybody else, obviously, please share your thoughts on that. I think that's where a lot of people deal with frustration, maybe even depression, and in their life is that comparison mode, right? They're looking at where somebody else is and say, why aren't I there? But do you really want it, right? If we're constantly looking at the achievements of others or the life of others, we're ignoring ours to an extent, right? Instead of just focusing inward. And that's probably something else I'm going to touch on in my presentation on Thursday night too, is I can look at a ton of people that have done way more in real estate than I have. I mean, who am I to be qualified to speak at this investors association, right? But I'm on that path for somebody. And I feel like we all have value to share based on our authenticity. I love that. I love this because that's where all happiness is, when you are not trying to be something you're not, and that therefore you're setting expectations of you're not good enough because you're always striving to be like somebody else or striving to be somewhere other than you are instead of be present. So great reflection. I'm glad. I know several people that have gone to breath work on those things. Look at Bree and the path her life has changed since she was with their lane right next to you at that same session.
Yeah.
And the trajectory of her whole life has changed. Not that we all need breath work, but it's interesting the tie-in that you just made that with what Eric started with on making a decision. Say, damn it, I'm going to go and I'm going to have this experience and I'm going to pull whatever good from it I can. So I love that.
Kind of along those same lines, I heard it on a podcast, but I liked it because a guy that I was listening to, he's fairly successful, but there's levels to it. There's people above him, and he doesn't get jealous about what they have. What he looks at are their accomplishments and things. He's just like more motivated by it, and he understands that for them to get to that level, they had to be themselves. They're not trying to be Tony Robbins. We don't need another Tony Robbins. We need a you or a me or a something like that. And so that's what he strives to see, and he sees. I just like that because you can look after like, oh, I wish I had this car, this house, and all this other stuff. But I think it's more interesting when you view it from the perspective that, oh, I wonder what part of this guy's internal thought process or more of himself he's become and then achieved that higher level that he's gone to. So I think just reframing it really is a powerful process. And then that way you're not actually like mad at them for doing it. You're like super happy because if they've progressed and it's just they're accomplishing something, and you just get more excited for them, and that's going to attract things into your life. The end.
I totally agree with that. Now, instead of like that jealousy or whatever, or like not jealousy, what's the word? Envy. It's probably more envy that I used to see. Now I see how did they show up? Oh my gosh, they have this and these qualities, and they just ran with it. And it wasn't even like a conscious switch I had to make. It's because I made the little mind switches before that I see that now. And it just opens the possibilities, right? And removes the negativity and just makes way for that positivity.
One thing that I noticed when I was kind of switching my mindset towards that is that I would be super happy for them, even if I had no interest in what they were doing whatsoever. It's like it wasn't even attractive to me, or I wouldn't want any of it, but I was still felt internally happy for them.
Yeah,
So
you're
at least for me, that's a good measurement.
yeah, you're celebrating them because that specific person is the one that did those things and achieved that accomplishment. So you just celebrate. You're just, yeah, you're happy for him. I agree.
You know, I just finished a book that talks about what we're having this discussion on right now. It's called The Scarcity Brain. You know, oftentimes we think of scarcity as a negative thing, right? We need to always be thinking abundance, but this book twists that a little bit. We're always wanting more. We're always, you know, we're never satisfied where we're at. And the scarcity brain that should come out in us is that contentment and that happiness on where we're at on our journey. We're all at different places or whatever, and being happy with less is a challenge. If you're constantly comparing and wanting what somebody else has have, or thinking, oh wow, they've accomplished so much more in such, you know, in less time than I have. I've been working at this for a decade and look what they've done. And all of that kind of stuff is so detrimental when we live in the gap. That's another book I recommend a lot, is The Gap and the Gain by Dan Sullivan. Pay attention to our gains, our own personal gains, not compared to anybody else. You know, our gains and our growth is ours alone. And if we're constantly in the gap of looking ahead. So anyway, those kind of tie together, but The Scarcity Brain was an interesting read for me along those lines. Okay, if anybody else have any final thoughts on that? Otherwise, we're going to wrap. Oop.
Pretty close to time.
Okay, you're up,
I'm up.
moderator.
You can.
I know I kind of took over
It's
today.
okay.
Sorry.
You did a great job. That was awesome conversation, everybody. Thank you so much for your participation and for putting in the time to share your thoughts. I'm sitting back here just listening and taking it all in. I'm taking a bunch
Lots
of
of
notes. So even though I'm not saying anything, I'm getting a lot from it. But now that we are close to 11, let's just move on to agent attraction. Eric, do you got anything for us this week?
Yeah, first just wanted to see if anyone has any feedback from conversations they had this week, or if they need any help with three-way calls or introductions to any agents that they've been talking to. So just wanted to open it up first of all for that, because Jeff and I are always available for those type of calls. We actually had one this morning that went really well, just sharing some new information about EXP that's come out in the last few months to an agent we've talked to in the past. So if anyone has anyone that they're kind of been talking to or working with for a while, maybe you've seen an overview, it's a really a good time to bring them back in to, hey, there's been some changes in EXP. There's been some things that you do not know about, I'm sure of, because most of the EXP agents don't know about it. So I'm sure you don't if you're not with EXP. So really good time to be able to share something new with somebody you've talked to in the past. So does anyone have anyone that they've talked to recently that maybe just they need a little extra help or an extra appointment?
Hey, before you chime in on that, I just want to bring up the fact that we started, and this is kind of directed at you, Kaylee, because you brought it up, but we started doing the first Wednesday of every month as attraction and doing the overview. And we did that for a sprint, but then we've evolved in the presentations, the trainings, trying to take some of them off campus, so to say, into different locations that are more neutral, that more people will participate in. And the first one we did at Edge Homes proved that point is true. We got probably over 20 agents there, not with EXP. And when was the last time we had 20 agents not with EXP in my office? Like 2019, before COVID. It just hasn't been happening. So along those lines, since you don't have that reoccurring invite, Eric and I we're not going anywhere. We're here. We're available. You just need to coordinate with one or both of us to do a one-on-one. We'll even do a small group. If you want to get a group together, we can do Zoom. We can do in person at my office or another location. But you're not limited now per se to the first Wednesday of the month, because Eric and I want to support all of you in your growth and in your connections and stuff. Like he said, we did a Zoom call before team meeting today. So we're just here for that.
So can I ask a question that I probably learned 3.5 years ago when I joined? Okay, so now that I am showing up with more authenticity, I'm attracting agents, naturally, because I'm not a chaser. Anyway.
I get it. They're attracted to you and what you're doing, they're coming to you.
Okay, so is there a step I should do before we get on like a 4-way Zoom? Is there something I should send them, or do you feel like that is good to just hop right on?
I think that's a great question. I think everyone that you talk to might be a little bit different, because one thing that we always want to focus on, and it kind of comes back to the being authentic, is we need to know what's important to them. EXP has a lot to offer, but we don't know what is going to be the most interesting part of EXP to them. We don't know what their pains are with their current brokerage. Do they want to sell more real estate? Do they want to have some passive income? Are they looking at retirement? What is their past job history before real estate? Maybe they have some skills that would work really well with some of the tools that EXP offers. And a lot of things we just don't know until we have a discussion. So I like to have kind of a fact-finding discussion with a potential agent, if at all possible. So the more they know about EXP and having interest, the easier it is for Jeff and I, obviously. Like if they've watched an overview and they say, I'm really interested in revenue share, for example, or I'm interested in some of the tools, that helps us already. But I think if it comes from what your introduction is and why they're being attracted to you. Because if they're coming to you and saying, Kaylee, I love what you're doing. I can see what you're doing on the investment side of it. Can you tell me more about what you're doing? And you can tell them and share a little bit about what you're doing. But another add-on to that would be, I would love for you to meet someone I work with at my brokerage that has a lot of success in what I'm doing. And he's actually been a mentor to me, and he's helped me find my path. Would you be open to just having a discussion with, my friend Jeff, if it was about investing, right? Or something like that. So I think everything is different. Everyone is different. Some people just want to see, well, just send me a video that I can watch and we can talk later.
Yeah.
Are they asking about your brokerage, and are they asking for a change? Then yes, we need to talk about EXP.
Yeah.
If they're interested in what you're doing and being maybe a part of a tribe, they're really interested in you. It's not about EXP. So let's have that discussion and see if there's a good fit, kind of in working together as agents in the same brokerage. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. Okay.
Being authentic, right? You can just say, I'm so glad I'm where I'm at. And if you are looking for something additional and some help, I'd love for you to meet some of the people that I office with and I work with. I think that's a great approach, and just open up those conversations.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Thank
So
you.
Kaylee, the gal you brought to our office, was
Yeah.
it Caitlin?
Yeah.
Caitlin, kind of went that way. We're talking about her and where she's at and what she's interested in. That was a good preliminary discussion. So now it kind of becomes about the follow-up. It's like, is she still interested? would she like to know more? But we didn't go into a lot of things that we could have on an overview because we were talking to Caitlin one-on-one.
Right. And what's interesting with her is like we got in the car and she's like, so she's getting her license and she was like, well, I kind of always knew I would join EXP because it's great for investors. It's investor friendly. But we have a mutual friend who has started like a power team out from Florida. And so she basically was like, it's between Kaylee and Adam. And I was like, okay. And so I went in and I talked to her about, and I know Adam well, and I know this team he's starting, and I know who he's under. And I just went and talked about the differences she might see in the two teams. And anyway, to the other one, but even though it's still EXP, but they're doing things differently. And I just like told her why I love where I was at. And I'm local.
I like that approach, because they're gonna have options. EXP is definitely not a secret anymore. People are going to be gravitated towards people like them. So another thing to keep in mind in this attraction is to not set the expectations and be okay when people make their own decision that don't include us. Because you are going to attract the people that are attracted to you and want to align with you. And it will probably have more to do with that than even EXP.
Right.
And some will and some won't. So, just take it for that, but don't let that, and you're not, I'm not saying you are, but don't let that dissuade you at all, because ultimately we just want people to be happy.
Yeah,
Right.
it's true. Yep.
Jeff, I'm glad you brought up the the neutral locations that we're doing a class, and we're going to try to do those once a month. And I was thinking about how do we apply that in our agent attraction. And I think, Kaylee, what you did, bringing somebody to the office, someone that you have a relationship with, like on a one-on-one, I think that's perfect for our office classes. Like, hey, come meet who I'm office with, who I'm around, and why I love being a part of it. And I think that's great for one guest, because you're really treating them like a guest coming into your home, and you're really showing them, some extra, love in a way, instead of having 4 or 5 potential agents show up at the office and you're trying to bounce between them, right? So I think a one-on-one is fantastic for the office. And then on the neutral site, where we're doing a class that a lot of agents would be more willing to come to, I think if you have multiple agents that you would like to, attract to EXP, that's the one that you invite multiple agents to, in my opinion. Say, what, I've got, 10 or 15 agents that I've worked with in the past that I really like. I think they'd be a great fit at EXP. I'm going to invite them to the neutral location class and not at the office, to make that first touch and first introduction. So I think the next one is March 13th, which is the panel. So I've been thinking about this a lot the last week, Jeff, is just kind of, well, how do we incorporate both? And for me, that's how I'm gonna approach it, is like, our office classes are really for us. They're for our tribe. They're to keep our agents educated, giving talking points, help to sell more real estate, stay connected, and then also invite in someone that we feel could fit in the tribe with us. But on the neutral classes that, more agents will be willing to come to, that maybe we don't have that tight person or tight relationship with, that's who we can broaden how many people we invite. Because let's say we have 3 or 4 agents that come to a neutral class outside of the office. Now we have the opportunity to do a follow-up and invite them on a one-on-one basis to another opportunity to meet at the office, so they can actually see a class that's neutral, and now they're more comfortable. Hey, remember you met Jeff and Eric at the class that was a non-office site, right? We're doing a class, in the office in Draper. I'd love for you to get to know him a little bit better. And this is a great class on this topic, for example. I think it gives us an opportunity for that to be a follow-up and start some of those one-on-one conversations, because it is a process. I mean, we talked about decisions today, right? Joining real estate, is a decision. Joining EXP is a decision. And sometimes which team in EXP is a decision. And that's a buildup over time. And then they decide, like, okay, I'm going to do it here. This is where I'm going to go. So I think having 2 or 3, 4 of those conversations, maybe in different locations, different settings, and more personal and individual is a great way to do it. So I think last week, Kayla, what you did was perfect on the one-on-one.
Yeah.
And multiple.
And I know her well. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. If it's an agent you don't know very well, because I've had issues, not issues, well, just challenges, right? Of having agents that I've had a great relationship with, but I've never met them in person. It's just over the phone. It's on a transaction. For them to come into an EXP office in Draper, they maybe would say they'd come and then they change their mind, and it just never works out. But a neutral location, much less threatening. So I love the direction we're going that way, to make those connections and relationships tighter in a neutral location. So
Yeah.
Well,
So
Erica,
you
I like
guys-
the distinction you made about, inviting more agents to a neutral location, because they're probably agents you are trying to build a relationship with, and
Right.
you haven't really initiated that yet.
Right.
But what Kaylee did come in here, I mean, it doesn't have to be about an overview. She came in before the training, because we weren't doing the training on the overview on that training day. And so she ended up staying for the training. But inviting somebody that you know well, like a Caitlin or whatever, just say, hey, are you free to come to lunch with me on Wednesday? Even if you led with that and then say, well, I'm going down to some of my partners' office in Draper for this killer training on social media, and a sponsor is going to be bringing in lunch. I just wanted to know if you wanted to come with me. So now it's just lunch. It's just get some education and having lunch. You're going to a lunch and learn, and then bring them into the environment. We get to meet them. We get to say hi, but we don't have to make it about EXP. Relationships are built over time, and I think sometimes we ruin relationships by trying to rush them. There's a lot of trains of thought on this, right? People are always like, go for the close and go to the ask and this and that. But if you truly make somebody believe that you want to align with them, or that you want to be somehow authentically, like you were talking about earlier, then EXP will probably come up. I mean, this gal and Shayna were really good friends before they even talked about EXP. EXP was not the motivation for building a relationship with somebody that you see a mutual benefit from. And that's where the attraction comes in, Kaylee. People are like, I want more of what you've got, or whatever. I'm maybe not getting it over here, but it's the relationship first that they really want.
Can I add something, Kaylee? So I'm glad that Jeff brought up our thing, because it's interesting how I was attracted to EXP. I had no desire to move from my previous brokerage, and so I've kind of been asking myself those questions. But I love that you've brought in the authenticity piece, because like once you start feeling like you can just be yourself, and that's one thing. But one thing that I'm personally implementing, and we can collaborate on it more, like we talked about bundle select too, but one thing that I'm wanting to do is put more effort and more of a plan into follow-up with people that I'm connecting with. And so rather than just taking the no of, I'm not interested, I don't want to change my brokerage, because I've been there, I didn't want to change, I had no desire, nurturing the relationship in a different way, whether it's just paying attention to what they're doing on social media, checking in on them as if they were a client, really. Because like our rev share team, when you're wanting to grow and attract agents, they're like our clients in a way, right? And so treating them like that and nurturing them, and bringing your authenticity into that, I think is at least what I'm working on. And yeah, anyway, I'll just share the story too. So I did have an agent that we brought into the office. You guys all met.
and she did join EXP, but she did join another team. And so it was a little discouraging at first, but like I'm watching her, what she's doing, and whatever it was that connected her with the other team that she joined, she's coming out of her shell and showing up in a way that is different. And I can only be happy for her. So I can't remember, I think it was Jeff said that not to take it personal either when they decide to do something else. And I also believe in my business that I'm just meant to work with who I'm meant to work with. That's where the feels come in, like I feel like I was supposed to work with this person. And if someone else chooses a different agent or a different brokerage or whatever, then that was meant for them in that experience. But can always learn and grow from the way that I'm communicating and how I'm attracting as well.
Thank you.
I love
Yes,
that.
we'll
Yes, that's
collaborate on this.
very good.
Well, and Jana, you tried to ask her what it was, that attracted her to go that way versus this way, and she didn't respond to you, correct? Because I like feedback too. I love feedback because then okay, what is it that we may or may not have had that, I agree with you. I'd rather have people go where they're going to be the most happy. But I'd still always wonder, what is it?
Yeah, she did eventually respond back. And it was really helpful. I don't think it would have made a difference. She homeschools her kids, and I think she just had a different connection with the agent that, she had a good relationship with that agent as well. And so I feel like it was just something that connected her more on a deeper level in a personal way. So yeah, I'm okay with that.
So I think what I get the most excited about is when good agents come to EXP, period. Because EXP is not just a buy and sell brokerage. We are owners in this brokerage. And when this brokerage does well, then our stock does better. And we are getting stock from our, as we do things within this business. And so I'm just grateful when good people come over. And that's the other fun part about it, is that we do have a community of agents within this brokerage that feel the same way we do about it. So I like that component too. It's not a loss. It's actually still a gain.
I know I've mentioned this before too. Every week I jump on a call with Brent Gove with about 30 other agents each week. And one thing that he really focuses on is we are, as people and agents, we are here really to try to help other agents be more successful. And he says it all the time. Go continue to kill it at Remax or Keller Williams, wherever you are. Go sell real estate, help your family, support your family. I just want to give to you and help you with some tools and some education, and just be detached from the outcome. So if you're really being authentic and saying, I want to help you, and I think that you could benefit from this class or this relationship with some of my, my tribe, and they never join EXP, if you're upset about that and that it didn't work out, were you really being authentic that you wanted to help them? So just attach it. It's like, I just want to give and help other people have success, have an abundant mindset, that wherever they go, wherever they work, it's not going to affect me in a negative, positive way if they don't join my group, my team, my tribe in EXP. I'm just here to offer and help. And you're going to attract the agents that you're supposed to attract to be with you by just automatically, because you are being authentic. So just keep giving and offering, and those will come. The ones that are supposed to come will come.
I think just supporting and loving on agents without that expectation is fulfilling for me. At 10 o'clock one night, I had an agent reach out to me that wanted to ask me questions about the market, not in our group, And then the next day I had another agent call me and ask questions about doing a CMA, just not in our group. And they're not with EXP either. But I'm happy they're coming to me as an expert and asking me to help them, not their broker and not someone else in their brokerage. I mean, how cool is that? You know, and so to me, if we have a good reputation, not only as an agent and as a fellow agent, but also we have a good reputation, not being what we were seeing with EXP there for a while when we had some groups that were doing all these crazy cold calls, but they see that we've got good quality agents that care about people here. If they decide to make a change, who are they going to want to go with? The people they can call and ask for help on a CMA. That's not even their broker, right?
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that, Lynn. I have one last comment and then I'll be quiet. As I'm thinking this, I kind of coming up with an analogy. As we're talking about, you know, some are going to come with us. We love it when they go to EXP, even if it's not with us, as long, you know, good agents, it helps our reputation, all of that kind of stuff. Eric, we've talked about this a lot. I often refer to building our rev share like building a real estate portfolio, right? Agents can become part of our portfolio for residual income, for asset growth, passive income, because of just the alignment. So we can build a portfolio of real estate, which is great. We can build a portfolio of people that we like to be around and be compensated for them. And the appreciation comes from, hopefully someday we get to meet somebody that they know. And then we get to meet somebody that they know. So that appreciation factor and that growth is there. But as far as the attraction concept that we were just talking about, Kaylee, you can relate to this as an active investor, is you don't buy every property you look at. You look at them, it's got to fit certain criteria. If it doesn't, if it's not a match, you let it go and you look for something that is in alignment with your goals and is the right property for your portfolio or for your flip ratio or whatever you're looking for. But you can't be upset about all the ones you looked at that you didn't buy. They just weren't a match. And I'm just trying to articulate this because I'm kind of thinking of it in my mind is the same way with agents. We can't be upset because we talk to somebody, an agent's like, man, I know they would have been so good at EXP. They would have loved it. I wanted this for them so much, but they wanted something else. It's just kind of like part of the weeding process, right? We look, we interact, and some connect, some don't. And we just keep plugging forward without letting that affect our forward progress because we didn't buy every property that we looked at, or because we didn't recruit every agent we talked to that we really liked. I'm going to work on that analogy so it makes more sense next time I tell it, but I like it.
I think it made sense. It was good. Yeah.
Good. All right, Ashley, I think we should wrap up. It's 11:20. Oh, one other thing, talking about neutral locations. Because I'm actually going to a meeting right now at noon at Top Golf. If you need to have a conversation with somebody that you just want to socialize, get to know better, and you want Eric and or I or whatever to meet them and just go to lunch and just talk without really moving too fast. I meet with a lot of people in that type of an environment because it's so casual and it's so personal. It's the indoor-outdoor space. I mean, look out your window if you buy one right now, how beautiful it is outside. It's so different than meeting somebody for lunch per se at Cafe Rio or, whatever. I get to know people a lot quicker in that window of time in that environment than I do here at the office or at another one. That's why I'm meeting this particular person there today. So there are options. If you're talking to somebody, maybe brainstorm with Eric and I and Lynn, any of us here that what the best approach might be. And we'll just kind of like maybe formulate a plan. But the key is to build relationships and offer a great benefit to other people. And hopefully, they're happy. So throw that out there. The end.
Have a great week, guys.
Love you guys.
Thanks for jumping on.
Talk to you later.
See you guys.
Thank you. Bye.
See you Wednesday, hopefully.
Thanks.
Bye.